This week, it's a special on-the-road edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor as the show comes to you from beautiful Arizona, home to the Grand Canyon, as well as the Phoenix Zoo, our location for this episode. Coming up, hear from a Georgia native who now calls the Grand Canyon her home and why she feels there's no other place on earth like it. Also, managing irrigation in a desert climate. It's not easy, but the folks at the Central Arizona Project say they have got it down to a science. All this, plus the many unique facets of Arizona agriculture, starting right now on the Farm Monitor.
This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Bergamy.
And it goes without saying, we are thrilled that you decided to join us for this very special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. As mentioned, our setting today, the Phoenix Zoo, home to many exotic animals, as well as Harmony Farm, a real-life farm experience located in the heart of the Arizona desert. More on that in just a bit, but first, welcome everybody. Ray DeLessio along with my good friend and fellow co-host Kenny Bergamy, and I'm sure you're all asking yourself why an entire show dedicated to Arizona agriculture when this is actually the Georgia Farm Monitor. Well,
yes.
Simply put, Kenny, why not? And the timing was right.
That's right, Ray. During our time at American Farm Bureau's annual meeting, we kept hearing about how great the agriculture is and its industry in Arizona, not only in the Phoenix area, but throughout the state. And so we said, why not? Let's go ahead and show off what Arizona has to offer. So with that being said, let's begin with a special video feature that's been put together by our friends at Arizona Farm Bureau.
Ancient canals carved in desert lands. The sun poured bright. The soils held strong. This is our destiny. This is our destiny. This is our destiny. Arizona agriculture, our essential industry. Our nutrition state. This is our destiny.
It's just an amazing piece of video, and of course, we cannot thank the folks at Arizona Farm Bureau enough for providing us with that. Now, if you're not familiar with Arizona agriculture, here's some important facts and figures to keep in mind. In its annual report, the Arizona Department of Agriculture puts the industry economic impact on the state at more than $17 billion, while at the same time accounting for approximately 77,000 jobs. And as a whole, Arizona has more than 15,000 farms and ranches, with a whopping 97% of them family operated. You like beef? Well, there's plenty of it here. In fact, the state's ranchers produce enough beef annually to feed more than 4.6 million Americans. And finally, maybe you're a vegetarian. Well, Yuma, Arizona is the winter lettuce capital of the world, supplying an estimated 95% of the nation's head lettuce, leaf lettuce, and romaine lettuce, along with a plethora of seasonal vegetables.
Well, given what you've just seen and heard, one could certainly understand why Kevin Rogers is proud to call himself president of Arizona Farm Bureau, a title he has held since 2003. However, with Arizona being one of only a handful of state farm bureaus that limits a president's term in office, Rogers will leave his position in November. Here now, in his own words, Kevin Rogers on what he's accomplished and his current vision for the future of Arizona agriculture.
You know, in Arizona, we may be a smaller state in the world of Farm Bureau, but we've had great success getting our policies through the process and having them end up in the American Farm Bureau policy book. But the fact that it's our responsibilities as leaders to implement those policies, to make sure our Farm Bureau continues to grow through our partners that we do a lot of different things with, to expand our touch to the public, it's been a great opportunity to serve. In Arizona, we're not very bashful about a lot of issues, and so we tend to share our story over and over and over again, invite people out to the state, much like this convention, where people can see what we deal with the public lands, with the borders, with all the things that affects our operations daily. In some tokens, I'm kind of jealous of my friends from across the country. We have to work every day on our farms. There's something to do. We don't have the winter break. We don't have the downtime where we bring all the equipment into the barn and polish up the tractors and do what some of my friends in the Midwest do and in the South. Here we've got crops growing literally year-round, and there's just a few places in the country that have that opportunity. So even though our footprint and our acreage may be smaller than some other states, we'll grow 3 and 4 crops depending on our commodities on our farms, and with our irrigation projects that are so phenomenal. You know, we run water year-round. We're green chopping alfalfa as we speak on our farm right now, so there's always something going on, and it's very diverse. Those that are here working on our farms and ranches and operations who are documentally challenged, they've got false papers. We're not sure who they are, but we know they're out there. We need a way to change their status so they can stay and continue to work on our operations. And you know, then we've got a group of members, my members, that live down on the border, that literally live in fear. You know, when you and I dial 911 living in a metropolitan area, it takes, 3-5 minutes at the most to have some help. When you're down in the southern part of the state and you call for help, it can take an hour or 2 hours before someone can get there to help you. And those are the drug cartel people coming across the border that are doing harm to our ranchers. And a few years ago we had a person get killed down there who's a rancher. And so those are forefront on our mind of things that we have to deal with. And with the new presidency, I'm hoping that as President Trump moves forward with things that are going on, that he'll keep the industry in mind that helped elected him, the rural America that put him in office, and evaluate our top issues. And labor, immigration reform are tops on our list in Arizona.
Well, still to come on the Monitor, the story of how this Georgia native not only found solace at the Grand Canyon, but a career as a park ranger as well. You don't want to miss it.
But first, we're going to introduce you to an Arizona woman whose passion for shearing sheep began at 9 years old, how it all got started, and how it even paid for her college education. That is next when the special edition of the Farm Monitor continues from the great state of Arizona. Stay tuned.
And we welcome you back to the Georgia Farm Monitor, a special on-the-road edition of the show. Now, if you're just joining us this week, we are exploring all the great agriculture the state of Arizona has to offer, and that includes Our current location, the Phoenix Zoo.
Yeah, that's right, Ray. This facility opened in 1962 is one of the largest privately owned nonprofit zoos in the United States. Now, besides being home to more than 1,400 animals, the zoo also features a real-life working farm sponsored by the Arizona Farm Bureau. Harmony Farm brings a small part of the country to the city of Phoenix so that children and adults of all ages can learn about agriculture.
Well, we're really trying to get people to realize where exactly their food comes from. A lot of children these days and adults don't know exactly where their food comes from. We have a number of different goats here that are in our petting zoo that the guests can come in and interact with and brush the goats. We don't have them feed them, but they can brush them. And that just kind of gets the basic interaction for the public on learning about farm and domestic animals. So we have a little garden, kind of a hobby garden, that we grow like carrots and corn, different kinds of spices and herbs, and those are actually used for behavioral enrichment for other animals here at the zoo. So they like to smell those different smells and scents, and we can also give them what we call treats, which isn't their normal kind of diet food.
During our stay here in Arizona, we took a trip to the Big Chino Valley, about a 2-hour drive from Phoenix. That's where we found a young lady who attributes her time in 4-H to helping her pay for a career in nursing. You can find the 5th-generation ranching family in the Big Chino Valley, just under 2 hours from the Grand Canyon. We discovered the former rodeo queen has been involved in steer showing and livestock and horse judging, and has become well known for her skills shearing sheep.
I'm a 5th-generation cattle rancher, and my great-great-grandpa on my mom's side came over here from Texas with cows. So that's how we started here. And but with sheep, we started in 1993 whenever our family moved to Chino Valley, Arizona, and my mom bought some Dorset sheep. We got Dorset cross sheep. But then as the time went on, we got some Suffolk sheep, and that's all the ones that you've seen here so far. Those are Suffolks.
She started showing sheep at the age of 9. Crystal also showed steers. Her family has about 20 Angus cross cow in their operation.
I'd say the cattle are probably the most important to me just because that's what my history is.
Crystal and her boyfriend, Alan Martinez, spend a lot of time outdoors.
I had no experience in this kind of atmosphere other than seeing them here and there, the animals out in the background. But so I agreed to go one day with Crystal, and I was really surprised on the amount of things that I did not know. So I saw it as a challenge and a way of being able to do something new. She took me under her wing and kind of showed me how to shear different kinds of animals, alpacas, sheep, and llamas.
You just have to shear a lot in order to make a significant amount of money, basically. And it's really hard work. So you kind of feel like you count every single one of them. It's like check mark, 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. As a matter of fact, I keep a tally.
Crystal still works with students involved in 4-H. She told us she teaches them about hard work, integrity, having compassion, and making ethical decisions. Crystal said she has had some great role models in her life and wants to be a good role model to the students.
That she's the one who taught me everything, and my dad too. He's a veterinarian, teaches us a lot. And also my mom, because anytime I have a question, mom, phone, call up mom, email mom. And she gives me the best answers and the ones that you're really looking for, the answers to.
And Crystal said even though it was just a hobby, the sheep shearing business put her through nursing school.
I'm very particular, yeah, because I can't really do, between Alan and I, we can't do a few hundred sheep. And for the most part, they're looking for someone else to come shear their sheep that's a lot quicker, and that's specifically all they're there for is to shear them, and that's it. Whereas I personalize more towards the whole sheep, the family, like I become family with them, and just overall take care of their animals.
Well, just a reminder, if you missed any part of this story or others on today's special program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel. That is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Once there, you can browse the archive of stories dating as far back as 2009.
And once you're done watching all those informative stories, just keep on clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page we have set up for you. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, feel free, send us a message either on Facebook or at the address you see there on the screen. That is news at farm-monitor.com. ArizonaFarmBureau.com. Well, as we told you earlier, come November, current Arizona Farm Bureau President Kevin Rogers will officially leave office after 14 years. And of course, filling those shoes will be a difficult task. But many feel the right person for the job is current Arizona Farm Bureau First Vice President Stephanie Smallhouse. In addition to having extensive backgrounds in wildlife biology, land management, and endangered species, Stephanie also helps her husband Andrew manage their cow-calf operation, farm guest program, and mesquite lumber business. As she faces the possibility of becoming the first female president in Arizona Farm Bureau history, Stephanie tells the Monitor she is more than ready for the challenges that come with the job.
I think there's been so much work from all the previous presidents in Arizona that have accomplished so many things and brought Arizona to the forefront in agriculture, really. Even though we're a small ag state, we're on the forefront of a lot of issues. We're very diverse. We're somewhat of a nutrition state. So just the fact that they've laid the groundwork for that, that's something that I would like to build upon. I have to be elected, so I will campaign and I will let people know what it is that I would like to accomplish for them. I basically have 5 generations of heritage on our farm and ranch that surround me every day. And I have the 6th generation that I'm trying to raise and grow up in this industry, which isn't unusual for farmers, but it's unusual for most of the population. And so when farmers feel frustrated because of regulation and over-regulation and anger that people don't understand them, I have felt all of those things on our farm and ranch. And I want to be able to fight for all of those farm and ranch families, just like the presidents before me have. And so it means a lot to me to be able to stand up for those families and say, let me help you understand what it is that we do and how we do it and why it's important to our state, why it's important to the country. So it would be an incredible honor for me to be elected as president of Arizona Farm Bureau, and I'm looking forward to the challenges.
We certainly wish Stephanie the best of luck during her campaign. Now, time for our final break. When we come back, the incredible story of how this Georgia native planted new roots in, of all places, the Grand Canyon. Stay tuned.
Back on this special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor as we continue to examine the many facets of Arizona agriculture. Well, last summer, the National Park Service turned 100 years old, and needless to say, it was quite the celebration, Kenny.
Yeah, Ray, and just over 3 hours to the north of us sits the incredible geological wonder known as the Grand Canyon. It is there you'll find Lori Parrish, a park ranger from Covington, Georgia, whose first trip to the Grand Canyon resulted in a life-changing experience.
My first trip to the Grand Canyon was in 2005, and I was actually moving to the Grand Canyon. I had never been here before. I had never been west. And growing up in Georgia, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But when I got here, actually to this exact spot, the vastness of the canyon was overwhelming to me. The wide open space, the ability to see for miles and miles, a condor flying over, this giant bird. I'd never seen anything quite like it in my life. It started hailing. I didn't know anything about the climate or the environment. I just knew I was moving to the desert. I was searching for something. I wanted to hike and experience the outdoors, and I was hoping to find that here. I didn't quite realize it in that moment, but that was the first day of the rest of my life. One of the most special things for me personally, living and working at Grand Canyon for the National Park Service, is contributing to the life-changing experiences of over 5 million people a year and being part of such a small community as doing that. I cherish that responsibility as well as the rest of my National Park Service family. Being a part of the National Park Service legacy in a centennial year means so much to me because of the positive impact and the influence that not just Grand Canyon, but the Park Service has had on me personally. I feel a duty, kind of an obligation to pay it forward, to share my story, to share my experience, because I feel like that's the way to get folks connected, to get them into the park, to actually come here and feel it, to go below the rim, to go on the trails, to be here at nighttime and experience the night sky. You can see the Milky Way. It's an incredible feeling, and I want to do my part to pay it forward.
Finally today, in a desert climate like Arizona, water, of course, is a vital resource, especially for farmers and ranchers.
And that's where CAP comes in, the Central Arizona Project, one of the state's most celebrated achievements of the 20th century. An incredible piece of engineering consisting of aqueduct tunnels, pumping plants, and pipelines stretching out across 336 miles of primarily desert. In this report from our friends at CAP, Brian Betcher of the Maricopa-Stanfield Irrigation District discusses the water use strategies of the Central Arizona farmers.
From a farming perspective, water use is relative to what you're trying to do with the water you're using. It really comes down to what are you producing with the water that you use. It's all about production and the efficiency of using that water to increase your yields. So if you have an efficient irrigation system on a farm, you might be able to increase your yield by 20% for the same amount of water that you're using because of the system you're choosing. So really we choose to look at efficiency in terms of what are you producing with the water that you use, how efficiently are you using that water, as opposed to a pure measure of the total amount. Arizona soils are unique, our weather is unique, and for years farmers have been doing very well in terms of growing cotton, so they start with that. Once you create an infrastructure on your farm for growing particular types of crops, you have certain equipment for harvesting and planting. You don't just change on a dime because it requires a lot of planning and capital and investment in order to make those certain changes. So this is agribusiness, and it's a business, and these farmers have to make money. A lot of the growers knew that they had some issues underground because they were kind of chasing their groundwater. They were deepening wells, and there was a lot of their power and energy needs to pump were increasing, and so they knew they were going to have to start doing some things to make their water go farther. I think the Arizona Groundwater Management Act brought that into focus for them a little bit more precisely. They're always looking for ways to reduce their water use, but it has to be in ways in which the bottom line pencils out. They have to be able to afford to make the investments so that last drop of water that's saved actually is a benefit to their farming and their business. There's a lot of science involved. It's not just slapping water on the ground. You're looking at your crop, you're looking at the soils, you're looking at weather, and you're looking at your ability to deliver water to that crop. Now, one other feature that I think is very important in Central Arizona, and with the Central Arizona Project coming on and surface water available to these farms, you can have an efficient system on farm, but if you don't have an efficient way to get the water to that system, you can't run it to its maximum efficiency. You're not going to be able to manage it well.
Absolutely amazing, isn't it? Well, folks, that is going to do it for this special on-the-road edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. But before we go, Kenny, we do have to say a huge thanks to everyone who made the show possible, the people here at Phoenix Zoo, and, of course, our good friends at Arizona Farm Bureau.
And here's just a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and here on the Farm Monitor Show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Hope you have a great week.